Welcome back to another episode of the Cycle Breakers podcast. Today, I'm joined by not one, but two lovely guests that I am sure many of you are familiar with. And if not familiar with them individually, you are definitely familiar with the brand. I have with me today Trisha and Mélanie, the co-founders of MINI TIPI. And thank you, both of you, for being here with us today with me and to all the listeners. So I'm just going to kick it off by asking each of you individually to introduce yourselves so we get to know the women behind this really incredible, empowering brand.
Well, thank you so much for having us and inviting us here. We're definitely excited to be here and share our story with you and your listeners. And I will introduce myself first. Zipikwe Indigenous. My name is Trisha Pitura, and my spirit name means River Woman. I'm a member of Nipissing First Nation, and I'm now residing here in Gatineau, Quebec, on unceded Algonquin territory, and one of the co-founders of MINI TIPI.
Yay, what a kick-ass intro. So I'm going to follow that. Hello, bonjour. My name is Mélanie, Mel, if as a shorter version. I am the ally in residence at MINI TIPI and also co-founder. I am from French settler descent. And at MINI TIPI, I lead sales, marketing, and also the growth. So I help people find out about the brand and also making sure that we do collaborations that are and partnerships that are aligning with our values. So thank you so much. And I'm super happy to be here.
Well, thank you, both of you. And I think the first question I want to start with is, the brand, I believe, was established, is it 2016?
Yeah, it's 2016.
Wow, so almost a decade. You're coming on a decade. That is amazing. How did the two of you come together to create MINI TIPI? And I want to go back to the beginning. I love hearing the origin stories of brands, of businesses. I love hearing, what the early days were like, the humble beginnings, if you will. So if you can, give us a bit of the origin story of the brand. I'd love to hear more.
Gosh, do you want to start with that, Mel?
Yeah, we need to, I think.
And it's exciting, and it's a good reminder actually, because it brings us back to where it all began, and it's like a reminiscing, but 10 years, when you say a decade, it's pretty wild to hear that. But it all started somewhere. You're absolutely right, and we're going to remind ourselves about that right now too. Do you want to tell us?
Well, go ahead. You were like,
Okay, so MINI TIPI, well, honestly, like I moved here from Sudbury, and I moved here with my husband, and now I have my three children. But Melanie and I met as friends. We met as friends, and it was through an aqua fitness class. So I had my oldest now, which was 6 months, and Melanie also has her daughter who's 6 months old, and we met in an aqua fitness class as friends.
it's not super sexy as a founder.
No, I was looking for friends for a language barrier here. I moved to Quebec, and I had limited French, and Melanie didn't speak that much English, but we met through smiles and body language, and we kicked it off as stay-at-home moms that we were raising our children, and we became really close friends that way. And I had a little bit of a hobby in the basement. I was like playing with textile and learning to sew. And it started with like creating baby products and just trial and error based off of Mel's ideas of try this, try that, and me playing with fabrics. And we that's how we kind of started, by playing in our basements while the kids slept.
Yeah. And the same lifestyle, I guess, we were stay-at-home moms, not just on mat leave. So that was like current employment, stay-at-home moms. And then we were having fun through like nap times when there was nap times and then at nights. So I guess we were like, it was fulfilling something in us and it was rewarding at the same time to create things. Yeah, so that's how it started, but it rapidly grew.
Okay, I want to hear about that. So you're kind of playing around, hobbyists, but it's no longer a hobby, and we've got 9 years in between what it started as and what it is now. So at what point did you realize, okay, maybe we've got something that we could, build and grow? Like at what point did you name it, brand it? You said you started with baby products. When did that product line grow? Who were the first customers? Like, what was the market at first? I'm curious about it all.
Actually, I have a picture of the first client that bought like our wool blanket. It was, I think, 6 or 5 years ago, and I took a picture of her. I was like, wait, imagine, like now that I'm like, sometimes I have these crazy ideas, and I was like, wait, just stand there. I'm just gonna take a picture of you, wrap up in your new blanket. And we had no idea it would just change our product line and our business and even the narrative in the textile industry in Canada, So that moment, yeah, I do have that picture for the museum.
Yeah. We keep saying that because our brand evolves so much over the years that we have all these like keepsakes for the museum because of how much we change so over the years. But like I said, we did start off with baby products. And a lot of the textile that was chosen, just like looking around at like the fabric stores, was really the native inspired, though, more woodland or florals, but really the native inspired that was out there, like the teepees and arrows and stuff that people were trying to be trendy with. And it was kind of what I was pulled towards, but at the same time, we always kind of had our own edge, or people knew our products by quality based off of our fabric choices and just the products that we were presenting in the brand. But it was more. And it was doing really well, but at the same time, when we saw that wool blend, because we were using different types of fabrics for baby products, but when we started using a wool blend that was also inspired textile, um, creating our blankets and accessories, but people also really liked it and it was doing really well. But then it was more about realizing that there was a lack of authentic Indigenous designs in the textile industry in Canada, and then asking those bigger questions and changing the narrative for what was in the industry, and also just realizing there was no artist or nation behind something that's really part of our history in terms of storytelling through textile and being able to, I guess, change that and have it brought back to proper representation for the culture as well. And I think, yeah, we just really wanted to do it for the change, and it wasn't being done. So Mel and I often don't do things the easy way.
Well, I guess I don't think, to be honest, let's say we kept like the native inspired textile, I don't think we would have been as motivated, or it would have grown in the business we have today, just as entrepreneur and leadership and the motivation behind it. I think when like we decided to do that, we were so driven, and we're still driven to this day, because it's like the possibilities and the representations are infinite, and the impact on communities is like beyond words. So like this is what really drives us. And I think that's what became our mission more than having a business. So for us, it's a mission. And sometimes you have mission statements, but for us, it's at this really center of what we do. And I don't think when we accepted that, we kind of accepted like, okay, this is really what we want. And it ends up, it's a business, but it's a mission first. Yeah. I don't know. Do you think we would have like kept
Yeah.
on having our business just a regular way, or?
I don't know. I don't know if it would be, I don't know, because, at the time we brought our competition to us with that inspired textile. Like we brought it into Canada because we had found it and people saw it, and you could find it on multiple Etsy sites, like those small businesses. But I don't think that it would have kept us our
Mm,
fire alive, or our true purpose, I feel,
mhm.
as being leaders in the community, and bringing opportunity, and using our platform as a voice for ourselves, for the culture, and others to come along with us and open doors. I think that's what I think that is what we're also doing, and standing in the shoes that we're in, is making things a little bit easier for the next, or just trying to inspire others at the same time by leading the way, by changing things, or asking those questions to like change the narrative in multiple things, and some of your other questions too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it really is what sets you apart, and you touched on it, I think, in a few different ways, like the fire that fuels the purpose and the passion behind what you're building is that much stronger because of that authenticity and the representation, the integrity. Maybe that's the word, the integrity behind what it is you're building. And if anyone has ever seen any of your designs or patterns, like they're absolutely stunning. They're so beautiful. And touching on that being a really core part of the brand, what is your process now for ensuring that the authenticity and integrity of the designs and the patterns are fully indigenous or accurate when it comes to your textiles?
It was a journey, and I'm just gonna start talking about this. So it was a journey, and for a long, like for kind of a long time, Trish was the only designer behind all our textiles. But I think it was a journey for you to accept, with the reconnection and who you were and all of this, that you were a textile designer. So all our textiles are Indigenous. So Trish is Indigenous, as she mentioned before. And then for the collaboration, it's always like mostly Trisha's inspiration, but we see so many inspiring Indigenous artists in the communities and online. And Trish can talk to a little bit about that, but I just wanted to make sure that I I took this opportunity at first to just mention this because it's been a journey for Trish.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And because I would never say that out loud myself, because Mel and I are very humble, and we're like, of course it's everybody else, but at the same time, at the root of the company, it's us,
Mhm.
and what we're building. But it's true, yes, and the whole reconnection for me in culture was really learning, and I think that that's the representation that you see in the designs, is what I was learning about, and reconnecting to and wanting to share, just because it inspired me. And I think Mel and I are both at the same time learning about the culture, because Mel is our biggest ally, and so many people see that and respect her for that, for the space that she's taking, and creating opportunities for many. So I'm grateful for a partner for as like her, for sure. But um, in terms of the designs, to continue to be authentic and ensure, it's a lot of the times some really traditional art forms that have been either lost, and just wanting to learn more about that. So not only teachings for me through my nation, but also other nations as well, or other art forms. I just find it so amazing, our culture, and how beautiful it is, and how much it needs to be celebrated. And even something that's so traditional, such as like birch bark biting, where it's unique and there's only one, and or star quilt making, where it takes multiple hours, or traditional weaving, where it's months to create one piece. We've kind of taken that knowledge and continue to storytell it in a modern way. So to make sure that it's authentic, we definitely do have a support in community with elders that we speak to make sure that everything is done in a really respectful way and done in a good way, to be able to storytell and pass that knowledge down to future generations in a different way, like, so it's kind of one foot in, one foot out, where we're able to share something that's done so traditionally, but in a modern way through textile. And it's still a form of what we used to do as well. And what we do is storytell through blankets and textile, and what we offer and how we offer them as gifts, and the meaning behind receiving a blanket, or people just kind of using that as well as part of the culture. It's just all part of what we've always done. But I feel like just that opportunity to give artists, and like, sometimes we work with artists and they're not textile designers. Like, I wasn't a textile designer, but it's just using it as a medium to share and then create conversations, because I feel our customers, whether they're Indigenous or not, are really appreciative of the storytelling, or also the information that they receive. And it's art. So we are just really celebrating the culture so people can learn and create conversations and feel confident wearing Indigenous pieces that represent so much more than that have so much of a story to tell.
It's so beautiful. So I did know that you, Trisha, did a lot of the design, but then in hearing that, that wasn't even your background at all. Like, that wasn't even necessarily, I mean, you were both saying you were stay-at-home moms. So when did you realize, I guess, was it when you realized that a lot of the textiles on the market were native inspired rather than authentically Indigenous, that you started to foray into that space?
I think there was like, I would say four pivot in our really like important moment in our story. That time that we decided that we wanted like authentic Indigenous designs, and that like one by one, because at first it was we had to order 1,000 meters. So where do you host 1,000 meters? Like, and you cannot just like have one design, like people want like choices. So slowly, bit by bit, we we created, well, Trish created, and we started collaborating with other artists. We also at that point where like ignorance is a blessing sometimes in business, or I guess for us, like it's been serving us a couple of times in retrospective, lots of tears, but at the same time, when you don't know how the book is supposed to be written, you just write it yourself. So one other moment that was really important, that is that when we realized that artists were not paid royalties in a textile world. And for us, it was just a nonsense. We didn't like, we just did it. And then we realized we were one of the first one, because we had like some big businesses contacting us after. You would be really surprised. Like everyone's watching, big and small. So to pick at our brain on how we could have, how they could have good relationships with their artists. So that was another thing. Also, I think when we decided to be all in, is when we leased our manufacturer, because we were in our basements for 5 years. And when we decided to lease, at first it was a 4,000 square feet, eh? So when we decided to do that jump, leap of faith, I think it's also when people like the brand also really took off. We also started working full time. Mind you, it was pandemic. Like, so we opened our doors while it was a pandemic. So everyone was closing their doors, and here we were. Ignorance is a blessing. Let's just lease 4,000 square feet. Yeah, in retrospective, it's sometimes our choices are funny, but they were intuitive, and we we knew it was going to work well. And I think the last change, last one of the big change was with our eco-friendly fabric. So when we decided to have all our fabrics eco-friendly or either like with recycled fibers or virgin fibers. So for us, again, like we were not in business just to make money. We were there to change things. So as soon as we knew there was like an option to, use a recycled fabric, we had to do it. Like I could just see in my head like saran wrap, because you have all these fancy names for plastic, like polyester, acrylic, polyamide, like, but it's plastic, So, and the idea of creating even more plastic, no, we couldn't. So yeah, I think that was one of also the big change in our business that would align with our values.
Beautiful. I love that you touched on, amongst all things, but I just want to highlight this of, taking that big, bold leap during the pandemic to, lease a 4,000 square foot manufacturer and using your intuition as your guidance. And I think that is, as a fellow entrepreneur, one of the that's our greatest strategy. Like it really is. And sometimes when we try to explain it and be like, yeah, in hindsight, in retrospect, it seems like that was a really crazy decision. But also, that leap of faith is, it wasn't just, like, yes, in a way, I guess, like ignorance is bliss. But there was something guiding you. Like it wasn't maybe a tangible or a logical decision, but I love hearing those stories because sometimes we do just have to shoot our shot. We do just have to, aim for the stars, and if it doesn't work out, at least we tried. The worst thing we do is to hold ourselves back because we're afraid of failure. And I don't see anything as failure. I see it as we tried and it wasn't aligned or it didn't work out, and we learned and we grew. And I think that's such a beautiful message and something to take away for anyone listening who is an entrepreneur or aspires to be. Sometimes you've got to take these big, bold, illogical, irrational decisions, because now look at 5 years later what you've built as a result of trusting yourself and your intuition. So I just wanted to touch on that. Anything else you want to add before I ask the next question?
I just think that if anything, intuition in business is almost like a muscle that grows bigger. And I think like it's always aligned on the mission. So it's kind of like the Northern Star. Like it always brings you back there. So if anything, I think like you need to listen to it more, and the more the business grows, the more you need to listen to it, I feel. You feel like that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's entrepreneurship is quick and it's always moving, and there's things that are out of your control always. But if you always have that like home base, or I guess like your why and your mission focus, I feel like it could center you and ensure that you're going in the right direction.
I love that. Now, one thing I wanted to also touch on, because having both Indigenous and non-Indigenous perspectives, building this business, building this brand to what it's now become, how has that supported you? How do you, yeah, what's your take on having this two-eyed seeing approach, and how is that supporting you? How has that supported you? If you have examples or even just some wisdom to share, because I think it's such a unique relationship that you both have, and like you've emphasized, Mélanie being such a strong ally, and we need allies. We need those different perspectives as well. So I'd love to hear how that is supporting you in the business growth and evolution.
I'm just going to start by saying, I think we've never really asked ourselves the questions before getting asked the question. We were two friends with the same values. And then when we took the decision to do this, it's like, of course, we're going to do this. So it was really, it looked like it was really simple at the time.
Hmm.
And now when we debunk all of it, we're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, it's a complex question. But to be honest, at first it was really like, let's do this. We didn't have any doubt that it would work. So I don't know if you feel the same about this.
No, it's true. And a lot of people look at our story like we hear this feedback quite often about like our dynamic and how rich it is. But at the same time, it's never really like, oh, well, what's wrong with it? Like, why would it be any different than what it is?
Mm.
But I feel like I would honestly don't know if we gave advice to somebody else to say, like, of course it's going to work. We can never say that, like we can't say for sure it would work with another partnership of non-Indigenous and Indigenous and how their view on the world or their values and um, how it would work in that dynamic because it is really based off values and beliefs and alignment of seeing the world with, I say, the two eyes, but at the same time, the one, because we're focused on the same thing. And we try to really use, of course, like what we have to do to grow the business. But I think that at the core of it, we have the same idea in terms of the relationship, just the same and more of like an Indigenous focus, but because our values are the same in terms of that. So we understand we have to use like the Western world to grow the business to what we want it to be. But I feel at the core of the business, it brings it down to the authenticity, the relationships, the sustainability, like us being conscious of our decisions for, the seven grandfather teachings or like the how all of our decisions are based is thought out. Like we choose to do things in a good way. We choose to ensure that our decisions not only impact us, but around the people around us or who we're bringing with us or the partnerships that we choose. Like I feel we're really conscious of these things. And I guess we have to stay in the speed of the the real world, I guess, of what business is. But at the same time, we get to decide. We get to decide how we want to run the business. We get to decide what it looks like and what feels good for us and our team here.
We get to write our book and we get to
Mm-hmm.
write every chapters of the book together. I think for me as a non-Indigenous person, it's also been a journey. Not the same as Trish, of course, but a journey of like where my space was. I knew my intentions were good. Then how do I integrate that? How do like, when you start like people look at you like, oh, how is that possible? I'm like, oh, I don't know. So, finding my space, also finding my space alone in the business, like that I can actually go somewhere and like, yes, I am one of the co-founders of MINI TIPI. And yes, I'm not Indigenous. And yes, like I have the same values. Um, Also humility and that I think is not hard for me. So I think it's just like what we wanted is to showcase in an authentic way the Indigenous culture. So it takes a step back, and then I learn at the same time as Trish, So I have my perspective on it, and I also understand. I think part of the guilt a lot of non-Indigenous people, sorry, are feeling and the education or the bridge or they're there and they're like how how can I help? I love to learn. I want to learn. I don't know where like they're like kind of stuck and I understand that. So that's also one of my thing. I'm like, yeah, I want people to be educated about it because there's tons of people who want to help, and to they want to open the conversation. They're not sure what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to do here, like have conversations, even just with our artist cards that we promote. like the videos with our artists, all this information that we're trying to provide. And then hopefully, like the more you know, the less you fear. And then hopefully one day this will really lead to true reconciliation. This is only one tiny aspect of reconciliation, but if with my eyes I can help that aspect of the education in like a meaningful way and also always respectful way, of course, um, then that that those eyes will have served something.
Mm, that's beautiful. I think that right there is such like that's medicine because I think regardless, indigenous, non-indigenous to indigenous, like you have non-indigenous and indigenous, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Your cultural background doesn't matter. Uh, any of that. It's that values alignment, and I think you answered that so beautifully. And I think that's just such a great testament to what you've been able to build because you are values aligned. And again, it doesn't matter the way you were brought up. It doesn't matter any of those things if you are synchronized when it comes to what really matters, what's really important to you. Then yeah, it that two-eyed seeing, or in some cases, if you're from the same background, it doesn't matter if you're kind of just on the same page, or sorry, on a different page. So I think that right there, I mean, before you enter into any sort of partnership or business relationship, that should be, step number one. Like, let's just make sure we agree on the same things and that we are working towards those same things, those same values. I think that's so beautiful. It's important. Otherwise, you're going to be conflicted with each other on a lot of things, or you're going to get to a point.
It's been tested, and then it's always came back to the same things, our values. So that's I think it's like when you're like in any relationship, you need to talk, like we didn't talk about all of this. They were just natural, like it's like we were not like yeah, anyway, so they were just like that. They were natural. And then I think we're lucky to have found each other. Because that's a relationship and that's a partnership. So yeah, as Trish was saying earlier, when people are asking, I don't think it's a matter necessarily of indigenous or non-indigenous. It's just like a person.
Yeah, compatibility. And one question I have, and maybe you'll answer it for each other, but what strengths do you think each of you bring to the business that, again, it's not about background, culture, any of it. Like, what do you each bring to the table? If you want to answer for yourself or you want to answer for each other, that has supported as well the growth of the brand.
No, Melanie, like I already said, but you can see it in her. She's so authentic and is such an ally and so passionate about change. Like she is so focused on the better good of society. Like she wants the best. I'm gonna cry for her. I'm gonna cry.
I'm gonna cry also
about her. But and I feel like Melanie is the visionary of MINI TIPI. She sees all of it. She sees all the good, she sees all the change, and we're gonna get there, So she's the visionary, the passion, and she drives the company. And we're like super grateful for all the work that she does here. But really, she's like the mind of the business and the heart all at the same time.
Thank you. I'm the endless curious person, I think, that's never satisfied. So we're here for a big ride, right? That's so nice.
Yeah, no,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
I would say that Trish, as much as she says I'm the vision, Trish is also a visionary, but also the heart of the business. And I like that's one of the things I'm so lucky to be in my seat is to get to see culture through her eyes, the excitement, the connection she gets with it. the incredible designs that she puts together. It's like, it's not just a design, it's really thought. And I don't know how to explain that. It's really like you have a connection with the elements and with the culture. And I feel very privileged to be right by your side to get to notice all of this. It's yeah, it's not just being excited. It's feel when you feel something really in a profound way and you embody it. Yeah.
It's all part of, I guess, the connection aspect of it, or wanting to like Melanie's very curious, but I think that I don't even know, like, the reconnection of the culture, or just wanting to know more, or there's so much to share, in a good way. So I just find that I get excited about sharing something that sharing some sort of teaching, or through textile, and then that people get to experience it in another way. I just find that that's also makes me excited. Yeah, I guess so.
And I think like I'll correct you on it because I think it's not excited. It really gets you emotional
Yeah.
in a good or not bad way, but like, happy tears or like, but it's like that's what's so special about it. And yeah, Trish is known for being close to her emotion, and tears are medicine, but it's rare that you get to notice that, like in our society where tears are like, um, you're close to, let's say, an outburst when you're crying, or for you, it's just because you feel all the feels, and a piece of fabric can get you emotional, like, so it's like it's pretty amazing to have as like in like it's and notice it's no, fabric doesn't make me emotional as much as I would love to. Oh my God, I still remember back when we were doing our baby products. Trish was like going shopping for fabrics, and I was like, "Really, Trish? I need to sell this after?" And she was like, "But look, the colors, the this, the that." I was like, "Okay, Trish." It's still the same now, but with like
Gosh.
really more profound designs. And then I'm like, yeah, okay. I'm also a super fan of our fabric. But yeah, it gets you emotional in a good way.
So beautiful. I mean, even just this was off script. I didn't have this plan, but I'm like, I just want to hear. And I'm like, wow, even just both of you sharing what you love the most about the other and what they bring to the table, you can tell the bond that the two of you have, which I think you've said it a couple of times. Like, it is rare and it's so special. And that compatibility piece, that values alignment piece, yes, but there's something just also between the two of you that it works, and you don't always get that. And it's, yeah, it truly seems like a partnership. There's respect, there's value, there's recognition, and I think that's, yeah, those are all recipes for not just success, because it's not always about, the material. It's not always about, the numbers or the metrics, but, just I think the well-being of the business, and it being more than just those metrics, it being, the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual well-being of what you're building.
I agree with you because the more you grow your business, the more your leadership is tested, and you as an entrepreneur or a leader, need to lead your team, and the business cannot, I feel, go well if you're not feeling well or going well, or not aligned with the business partner, or it it, it will suffer from it for sure.
One thing I definitely want to touch on, being mindful of getting closer to wrapping up our time, is you were recently on the Dragon's Den. And I'm curious about this because, of course, I've watched the show, but I've never actually had a conversation with anyone who's been on the show. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more of that behind the scenes process, what you can share, I don't know. But yeah, I'd love for you to like peel back the curtains a little bit. What compelled you to explore this opportunity in the first place? And then, yeah, we'll start there because I feel there's probably a lot you could say about it.
So it was a big moment in our year, yes. It was a third year we were considering doing it. And I'm glad we waited.
Hmm.
I'm glad that I feel like this year was a good year for us to be participating to Dragons Den. What story do we tell?
Oh my gosh. It's honestly, if we had like a little cam behind it, we should have done that. It was a wild experience. Like even just the preparation of something like that, um, is to, reset and be ready, like obviously wanted to show up prepared, but just in the moment, all of it was um me trying to run away last minute to like
Oh, she did. You know when you have those moments when you look at the other person in the eye and like, stay with me. You don't have to go to the washroom. You're staying with me right now. Let's go. Let's go. But I was surprised that
I
yeah,
know.
but it was that case, and it was like the first thing we knew we were on set. And you did an amazing job. But right before she was trying to escape, like not even kidding.
It's challenging. I actually really like it because yes, I try to run away from things that are hard sometimes, but to grow the growth of like that personally and professionally, like to say that you've done something like that is pretty cool. And it was a really amazing experience for Mini TP for us, Mel and I. And just like I feel like the feedback from that of what you see from Mel and I, people saw that on TV. So that was kind of cool that people can see our dynamic on TV and how we interact with each other. But just to have the representation, I feel too is really important for the community and the youth who could be watching to show that it is possible. So I really love that aspect of it. And of course like the exposure and the growth from that experience has really brought us to it's really been beneficial in terms of the metrics aspect of things but just um to have that opportunity and do it, I feel like it is something that you need to be prepared for, yes, plan for, and I think, like Mel says, like at the right moment, when you're
Mhm.
ready.
Mhm.
But it does bring a lot of benefits to the company. And then, the conversations after, if you're interested in partnership with a dragon, but all of those things that happen after that, I could just say it was positive. It was a positive experience.
Yeah, definitely a good challenge. Even the prep before to get all your numbers, to get all like, sometimes there's so many metrics, and then we've watched like all the episodes with our marketing team, noting down all the types of questions we could get asked, and then you have to go dig for those numbers and really know them by heart. And that was one of the things for me because I'm really good at talking and all of this, but remembering like numbers by heart, it was like I didn't want to have a blank, and then what happens? And then people are like, you don't know your numbers, but it's not true. Anyway, so that, and then they showed like 15 minutes on TV, but we were there for an hour and a half filming. I'm like one of the counter offered, it didn't show, and that was like a really badass one. So that's why I'm like, they didn't show it, but it's okay. I'm good with the editing of it. But I think that it's a really good opportunity when you're ready for it. So it's going to enhance your business. If your business is at the beginning stage, operations are not really, all aligned, or marketing is not, is not ready to like make ads or stuff like that, or even like you don't have inventory, this can break your business. And for you right now, we feel good because we represented our business proudly in all of this, but it can also show that you were now ready. So,
Mhm.
I feel it just enhances um, what you are. So that's why I stress the fact of like being ready. It seems shiny, but you better like wait for it for when you're ready. And then it's really going to be shiny and positive, and not just like wanting to, because they do recruit also. So, sometimes you're like, wow. But ask yourself the real questions, I think, as an entrepreneur. And I know it's flattering and you're like, I'm going to be on TV, but really it's hard work. And, if you really want the best impact, go when you're ready.
That's good advice. One question coming to me is you mentioned that was the third year that you were considering and you're happy you waited. What do you think made the difference between, say, if you had gone for it 3 years ago versus now? And do you think the same outcome would have happened? Or what has taken place in the business over the past 3 years that has supported, supported the outcome?
For us, I think one of the big things was it's been like a year and a half that we have a marketing and sales team. So before I was doing sales and marketing by myself, which was a lot. And then it would have been, so we also went to the French version of Dragon's Den. It's called Dans l'œil du dragon. And I was doing sales and marketing by myself, and it was hard. It was hard. So I guess I looked at all the business. The business was ready. What I didn't look at was like my position and how much I would like wake up at 4 in the morning to come work, to come do different things because I wanted the best out of this opportunity. So I wouldn't recommend that to anyone.
Yeah, the body, mind, and spirit were not being taken care of. But we've made some changes so that that's better. And also, I guess 3 years ago, in the beginning of our story, we had one 4,000 square foot unit, but we've also expanded into 2 more units that equal 10,000 square feet now. So just in terms of the production capacity, the bringing in the fabric and preparing inventory for that, we're
money
having
to buy
money,
the fabric
exactly.
beforehand, just that.
So there's a few growth, over that 3 years that were, processes were established or building staff or having like the proper like things aligned to be able to meet the growth needs. So kind of waited for it, built it, and then went at the right time.
And celebrated when we were still nervous. It went well, but we were still nervous the night of. We're like, oh my God. At one point, I didn't know the numbers. One, I don't even remember what number, but I was like confused. Everyone was talking at the same time. Then Trish was crying. Then I was like, of course, that's the only thing they will show. But no, they were like, yeah, like they didn't show me confused. But I was like, you know what? At that point, this is what it is. And Trish, but it was like good tears. Like you received so many feedback. They like so many testimonials that like your tears were helping people also
I think so. I did hear feedback of that, but yeah, exactly that. You could see all the things that Mel said is like I show my emotions and my heart is not always on my sleeve, but when I speak from the heart, which is always, I get emotional. I could start crying right now just saying that,
I remember seeing that actually in the clip that I saw on your Instagram. Not that that's the only thing I remember, but as you mentioned that now, but that was the thing is it was moving, it was touching, and you can tell energy is our greatest currency, and you can tell when someone is real and authentic and coming from a good place, even if you're not saying anything at all. And I think that is what was felt probably in the room that night, anyone that was in the room, but then any listener, any viewers, whether it was on social media or it was actually watching the Dragon's Den show, like there's, emotion. It's I mean, you can make it up, but I feel your tears were real. Like you could tell, and it was really touching and heartwarming. And I think the advice that you're providing is so valuable. Like, these are all considerations going on. Yeah, if your ego is like, oh, I want to be seen and I want to go on the Dragon's Den because I want to put that on my LinkedIn profile or my Instagram or whatever. But are you ready? And is that actually the most aligned decision right now? And is it coming from a good place? And could you, handle the influx of the business if, you get a deal? And like, are you really ready? So yeah, you do have to, and I agree, like metrics are important. I was using that example before, because it's not always about metrics, but in some cases it is. And having that additional support and additional space to support the volume increase, yeah, those are also really important pieces that I think those who may look to you and be inspired by, what you've achieved and that whole journey, think twice before you put yourself in the running, because it doesn't mean that it's a never, but it's maybe a not right now. And I think that's really important. There's I think something about divine timing and having patience to wait for divine timing. Something that I've learned in my many years of business ownership is, my timing is not always creator's timing. And creator's timing is always the aligned timing. So I've had to been humbled many times.
I do believe that, like the timing, if it's not at that moment, it'll circle back when it's ready. And we have pretty good karma, I feel, or we have like our things are aligned for
We
us.
say that out loud. Oh my goodness.
But I honestly like believe that. I do, because we honestly just are ourselves, and we look to always look to help others. I believe that. So, I feel like we have a good omen on us.
I think also nowadays there's things are moving fast, and I don't know, social media influencer, all of this. And then if you're not aligned or ready, it's not even going to lead you in the right direction. So it's just like it's going to leave you like it's fast, quick, like fast food information, or like, and then it's going to leave you empty and doubting, where maybe it's going to leave you empty, like very like out of nowhere, and you're going to be like, where was I going again? So sometimes it's better to just like look at things first and really like ask yourself the questions. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, we're wrapping up here, and what can we expect from the brand for the future? Anything in the works? I'm sure there's lots in the works, if I'm being honest, but anything you want to share or mention, and also where can we find you, the brand, to follow along if listeners aren't already?
Well, lots of exciting things for 2026. That's what I can speak of. We're launching our collaboration with our first Native American artist next year. So stay tuned. And also new products. Of course, new designs, but
Yes.
new products and expanding hopefully in the US market. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, all of your designs, your blankets, and like I love those. They're so beautiful. The designs are stunning. I even saw recently you've got kind of those little like toiletry bags. I'm like, okay, I need one of those. So yeah, you have like such a range of products that because obviously for me, I was thinking the blankets, you have such a beautiful range of products. So I will link all of the website and your social media handles in the show notes. The final question I ask every single guest is, what does it mean to you to be a cycle breaker?
What does it mean to me? Honestly, to be a cycle breaker, I just feel that it's continuously looking ahead. And even though I'm not always really great at that, I feel that continuing to make the change and continuously like being forward in our mission and ensuring the proper representation and authenticity. And I just want to like continue changing things for the next. And I don't know what that all looks like, but I know that if we stay focused and continue doing that, it's just really continuously taking the space and ensuring proper representation and change and making it a little bit easier for the next generation.
I think for me, it's well, it reflects a little bit our story. It's not to choose the easy path, not to be afraid of the harder path, because this is where the change happen, and this is how you break cycles, and this is how you say no to status quo, and you say things will be better. And when we die, let's say, I hope the world's going to be a little bit better because of the mission or the work we've accomplished. So I think it takes humility, integrity, and mostly courage. We like frequently, Trish and I are stepping in, at tables that they've either never seen a partnership like ours, or we have to educate people on the authenticity of the designs, or even the fact that um, artists are not, properly compensated. So, but I think that all of this is exactly to change and to break a cycle. Um, so I think this is also a motivator, and I think this is what it takes to become an entrepreneur.
I love that. Well, thank you so much. Also, one thing, I'm just going to mention this. I saw, I think, on your LinkedIn, Melanie, that you got one of your blankets in the hands of Martha Stewart. So, I mean, guys, that's pretty cool.
Okay, do we have like 1 minute to say it? I'm so excited about this story because it's like part, I guess, our connections, but also part of like our karma. Do you want to tell the story quick? Because I'm going to take like at least 10 minutes. So quick and dirty, Trish.
Oh, we had an opportunity to do a conference in Palm Springs, and Martha Stewart was there. So we had arranged that Martha Stewart would receive one of our blankets, but we didn't get the opportunity to meet her in person. Like that wasn't an opportunity. So she had her blanket. We watched her front row stage.
Wearing our shawls.
We were like wanting her to like look at us.
She never looked at us once. She was like not in the right angle.
We were not in the right angle.
Even went in the room like when we were not allowed, just to secure some places. Front row, security guards were like, what are you doing? Oh, sorry, I forgot something.
Like broken. But so we had that all, we thought we were gonna like, we were in acceptance that she was gonna receive our blanket, but we weren't gonna have the opportunity to meet her. We were like leaving, walking back to our room, and then she was wearing like a glittery shirt, and then Mel's just talking to me, and then she's like, there she is. And then she was in between the doors to get to the elevator. So then we kind of like, there was a few people around her, maybe like 6 people, her people, and some staff. So we went right in front of her, and she was coming through, and then we kind of just introduced ourselves and let her know that we were the owners of MINI TIPI, and you have received a blanket from us. And she's like, oh yes, we have it in the room and it's coming with me. Thank you so much. But otherwise we wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet her. We don't know. She probably opened it, but I hope she loves it.
Yeah. Of course she loves it. Of course she loves it.
I'm sure she uses it. But so it was a really cool opportunity that just she has our blanket. We got to meet her, and then we kind of like think that's why I say good karma. It happened that Mel saw her, and we just like went in front of her and introduced ourselves. So it was kind of meant to be in its own way. Organically, it happened.
That's so iconic. And I mean, yes, karma, and it's just you're really powerful manifestors. You're able to, hold this vision. You're like, of course she loves it. Why wouldn't she love it?
No, it was with like our good friends from EY, particularly Joe and Wendy, if you listen to this, that made like the gifting of the blanket possible. But meeting her was like totally us and the type of adventures we live every day.
I love that. That is super cool. I wanted to mention that at an earlier part in the episode and I totally forgot. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I need to bring this up. But thank you for that story. Super inspiring. And thank you both of you for your time today, for sharing your story, your journey, and just sharing this beautiful example of an aligned partnership and what becomes possible. So, Chimigwech.
Miigwech, Rachel, for giving us this opportunity and space to share our story. We appreciate you and the work that you do as well.
Yes, Miigwech.